So should you buy a Toyota Corolla? Well, hello and welcome to the Car Care Nut channel. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the latest generation Toyota Corolla, the hatchback, the sedan, and of course, the hybrid. I'm going to share with you some technical specifications of the Corolla. Then I'm going to share with you some things that I like, some things I dislike about it. Then we're going to talk about some common problems that I see working on these from the day they came out at a Toyota dealership currently. And then I'm going to share with you a few things as an owner that I think you should know about the Corolla. But before we get started, if you're new to the channel, welcome. Consider subscribing to the channel. Check out some of my other videos. If you are a returning subscriber, well, thank you so much for watching another one of my videos. And without further ado, let's get right into it. Starting with the engine. There are three possible engines, or actually 2.5. Bear with me. So the first engine on the Corolla is the 2ZR FE engine. Now that engine is basically a carryover from the previous generation, and that engine dates its roots all the way back to 2009, one more generation behind. It's an old school engine. It's great. It has its issues, but most of them have been resolved at this point in 2020. The only thing that is different about that engine, which is not an exact carryover, it used to be optional in the previous generation, the Valvematic. We're going to talk about that more in the common problems. But the gem of this generation, at least in my opinion, is the 2.0 that is available in the SE, the XSE, and in the hatchback. The 2.0 liter M20A FKS. That engine is a gem. It is an all-new engine. It's a dynamic force. It has so many technological advances that'll make many people want to say, this is too complicated, I don't want nothing to do with it, I'll run away. But actually, it is the party piece of the Corolla. It is a beautiful engine. It makes really nice power levels for the intended use of the Corolla. And it gets great gas mileage when compared to the ancient 1.8 liter. You're buying a new car, might as well get the latest and the greatest. Now, I went into a deep dive into that engine with all its technical advances in a separate video, and actually a two-part video. I will leave that in the description of this video if you're interested to know more about that engine. The third engine option, which is actually this one, it is also a 2ZR, but it is in the hybrid variant. Few changes here because honestly, there has never been a Corolla hybrid before. This is the first generation of the Corolla hybrid in 2020. It's only available in the sedan, and it is an absolute gem. I really like the Corolla hybrid. You're going to see that throughout this video. I think it is possibly the best Corolla variant available. However, it is also a 1.8 liter. It is different than the regular 1.8. Same engine, but completely modified to accommodate the hybrid drivetrain. Moving on to transmissions, and there is a grand total of 3 possible transmissions for the Corolla. The first one being the manual transmission. Yes, we still have a manual transmission in the Corolla. It's only available with the 2.0, so it's available in the SE and the XSE trims on both the hatchback and the sedan. The automatic version, the non-hybrid variant, has a CVT transmission. It is a complete traditional CVT transmission with one trick up its sleeve, which is actually a huge deal. Most people that drive CVTs, they dislike the CVT from the moment you take off until you get to right around 35 miles an hour. Then it becomes okay, it becomes bearable. They just have this drone where they just hold at 1 RPM and drone and drone and drone, and it's just super annoying. So Toyota figured out, well, we can make a reliable CVT, which typically, if you read on the internet, CVTs are not very reliable. But Toyota managed to find a way to make them very reliable. But then they wanted to make them also not droney and boring. So they added a first gear, which is something genius because it gives you the efficiency and the fuel mileage that the CVT, regular CVT transmission can achieve, But without that drone up to 35 miles an hour. It actually has a physical first gear that when you take off, it goes into that first gear until you pass that droney stage, and then it turns into a regular CVT transmission. Now, people will say this transmission is a disaster waiting to happen. And you know what? I understand your concerns, but we're talking about Toyota here. This transmission, although it's all new for the Corolla and all this stuff, it is actually not that complicated, because you basically have, it's a very large transmission, by the way, and a very funky looking when you have it outside the car, but it is essentially CVT with a little twist of old school technology. There's not that much complication to it other than the giant transmission is very large in size. And honestly, throughout the time that the Corolla has been out, I understand it hasn't been a long time, but we've already seen examples with over 100,000 miles of that transmission. There hasn't really been much. Usually new technology like that, when it comes out, there's all kinds of disasters that come with it. Not with this one though. It's been very quiet. And then there's the star of the show, at least in my book, the eCVT on the hybrids. Let us reiterate one thing that is very important. The eCVT is not a CVT transmission. They are completely different, and the eCVT name, in my opinion, should be changed to something else because it's very confusing. Folks, the eCVT transmission is, in theory, operates like a continuously variable transmission, but it has nothing to do with how a conventional CVT transmission works. They don't have belts, they don't have cones, they don't have first gear, nothing. They just have electric motors, planetary set, and that's about it. They are basically the same operation theory since the first generation Prius came out all the way back in 2000. Really, that's why Toyota hybrids are super reliable, and that's why I think this Corolla is the Prius killer. Guess Toyota didn't think of that when they came out with the Corolla. Let's talk about some things I really like about the Corolla. First of all, the Corolla is really always has been a very good economy car. It is not pretending to be anything else. It is not pretending to be luxurious or very cool or very nice and all that stuff. No, it is just meant to have a very simple mission. It is economical, it is small, very easy to park if you live in a congested city, and it is very honestly reliable. And that theme, thankfully, have been carried out in this Corolla, but Toyota managed to find a way to really improve on that in a way that it does not affect its original mission statement, if you would. For example, look at the interior. It is very simplistic, folks. There is nothing super complicated about this interior. However, it's actually packed with technology. I like how they kept everything just basic, easy to use. You know, you buy an economy car, you want it to be an A to B car that takes you there safely, simply, without hassles or faff or anything. And this interior does just that and does it brilliantly. And actually, what I think about it is the materials are significantly improved over the previous generations. They're not high-end materials and real leather, real stitching and all that, but it's a nice place to be. In the center console, you have a little bit of accenting. It's nice piano black. There's no real super cheap plastic. We've seen that, enough of that in the 2 generations ago from the 2009, 2013 Corolla. That was too cheap. But here, things are nice. Everything you touch feels solid. It doesn't feel flimsy and cheap and about to rip out and fall off, which is a big deal for a car at this price point, in my opinion. There's no drama, there's no excitement, there is no thrilling drive with the Corolla. If you're buying a Corolla for that reason, I think you're in the wrong segment. You're actually looking at the wrong brand, period. The Corolla is an honest car. It does not come to you telling you, I am exciting, I am fast, I am aggressive, I'm this, that. It is actually not. It is a very, very good A to B car. And now, in this generation, it has so much technology. It actually rivals the flagship car of Toyota, rivals the Avalon in features. Now, standard with this Corolla, of course, LED headlights, that's a carryover from the previous generation. But now you have the latest generation infotainment system, which can be a little touchy at times, but it's vastly improved over the previous one. But the main thing is Toyota's safety sense and lane tracing assist. This car essentially can almost drive itself with your supervision, your hands on the wheel on the highway. I mean, the Avalon doesn't have that capability, which is supposed to be the flagship. This has it, and it's standard. You see how they're putting the technology that most people want, but they're keeping the rest of the car relatively simple. There is no crazy networking, complicated stuff. And yes, the 2.0 liter engine can be a little complicated, but it's still not the latest and the greatest. There's no turbo, there's no crazy 48 volt system. No, everything is still relatively simple. This is an honest car. It really does what it's supposed to do very, very well, and it is a massive improvement over the previous one. I like the way it drives. I think the steering wheel is a little bit on the lighter side. It could have been a little bit more weighted, but overall, it's pretty stable for the size of car and intended use. The TNGA platform that this car sits on really made a significant improvement of how smooth this car drives. I mean, look, this is an economy car. It's not supposed to be luxurious. It's not supposed to drive very smooth where you fall asleep behind the wheel. No, it's loud, it's rough, it's all that. But compared to the previous generation, it is a massive improvement on the smoothness level, at least in my opinion. Now let's talk about some things that I don't particularly like too much about the Corolla. First one being the looks. Now the front end looks nice, aggressive, whatever you want to call it, but it looks nice. The hatchback looks really nice all around. It almost looks like the same designer designed the whole car. But it almost seems like Toyota designed the hatchback and they totally forgot about the sedan. I'm like, wait a second. We need a sedan version of that. So they just kind of slapped the rear end together. It just doesn't match. You look at the front, looks aggressive, looks nice. Then you look at the back, it just looks like they slapped two taillights and called it a day. It just doesn't follow the same design feel. And then we talked about the interior design and how I boasted about it for a while, and I liked it, and I still do. But there are two things I don't like about it. The two bulges on the side that are supposed to copy that kind of floaty thing across the dash. I really don't like them. The first time I got on a Corolla, it had its seat a little bit forward, and I bumped myself on that bulge, and I just looked at it to a point where I pulled it out just to see, is there anything behind it that they needed to make it this sticks that far out? There was nothing. It's purely a design thing. One more thing that is kind of odd about the Corolla, actually. So this is a latest generation Toyota. You know, Toyotas go by generations. They'll start sharing a lot of technology, sharing a lot of parts, and you'll see these improvements across the board as the new models start coming out. Now, the current generation started with the 2018 Toyota Camry, if you want to follow Toyota generations of cars. Now, you look at the Corolla, it has the same safety tech, all standard, have Toyota Safety Sense 2.0 and all that good stuff. It has the general design language of the Toyota lineup, but you look at things like the gas pedal. The gas pedal is still old school gas pedal that is hinged at the top. 2018 Camry has it hinged at the bottom, and it's much better, so your gas pedal doesn't get stuck with the floor mat and all this mess. Well, the Corolla didn't really get that. Don't know why, but it didn't. And then the other thing it didn't get is on the sedans. It did not get the nice opening trunk. You basically open the trunk in the Corolla and it just flops a little bit and stops. You have to push it out, open it. That's not a problem. That's just how they are, because it uses a very, very old school torsion bar, which is something of the past. 2018 or the latest generation Toyotas, starting with the 18 Camry, they have actually shocks that open the trunk. So you open the trunk, it's very smoothly, it just opens and stands. The Corolla missed that. Maybe for cost, don't know, but I would have really loved to see that in the Corolla. Now, the last thing is, then this is something, look, it's expected of this segment. It is a little on the loud side. And when I say loud, I mean very loud on the highway. I mean, there is absolutely no effort to insulate this car, and that might be by design. Not that they did a poor job, but it's, after all, an entry-level car. It is not a very high-end car. But the problem is the price. It all comes down to the price. When I say entry-level car, I remember days when Corollas were below $15,000. Now they are really reaching with the prices. I don't like the prices. This is not a criticism to the Corolla itself, but this is a whole lineup. Maybe I'm just getting old and not keeping up with the prices. I still want to buy a car for, I don't know, $12,995, but the prices are getting up there. And the problem is, there's one model that I really don't like. I absolutely, really don't like. The Corolla Apex. The Corolla Apex XSE has a starting price of just over $28,000 for the 2022 model, which is, let me translate that in normal human being language, ridiculous. That's just my opinion. Yeah, sure, the Apex has this and that. Folks, I don't like the Apex. When you tell me a Corolla costs almost $30,000 and when you add taxes and everything, it's gonna be over. You lost me there. I am deep into SE Camry territory. Even you're into Camry hybrid territory. You lost me there. Corolla should be lower than that, and a lot lower than that. It's just too much. At that point, you're into Camry territory. Yes, you'll get the top of the line, XSE, whatnot, but the Camry is just the next level up. It's a bigger car, all that stuff. So I don't like the Apex. I just don't see the point of it. Just like the TRD Camry, just like the TRD Avalon. They are a little bit better and they slightly make more sense in the TRD side for the Camry and the Avalon, but the Apex Corolla absolutely makes no sense, and especially at that price. Now let's talk about some common problems with this generation Corolla. Now, before we start, I want to say one thing. When a new model launches at a dealership level and even a Toyota level, when a new model launches, everybody is on high alert, because usually in the first month or two, all the production problems or the issues that were not caught will come to life. And then Toyota moves very quickly, fixes them all, issues TSBs, issues whatever to fix them, and then smooth sailing from there on out. The Corolla was a very successful launch. Some other models didn't have as successful of a launch, but the Corolla had a very successful launch. We had very minimal problems initially. However, as time passed, we were now second year into it, there has been a few issues here and there. Very minor ones, but let's address them so you know about them. The first one is, which is currently trending, and it's a huge thing, and it has been addressed by Toyota, and there's an official repair, is water collecting inside the doors. And basically, you open the door, there's a sloshing sound after it rains, the inside of the door fills up with water. This could affect any of the four doors. The simple fix for this, and you can go to the dealership and waste your time. It's of course covered under warranty. Or you can just do it yourself, like I'm going to show you right now. So in each door, there are 3 rubber plugs, as you see in this. On the front door, you need to remove the most forward plug on each front door, passenger and driver. You basically just grab that plug, pull it out, and that's it. On the rear door, there's also 3 plugs. You're going to pull out the rearmost one. So just grab it again, pull it out, and you have completely fixed this issue for good. I don't know why they decided to block all 3 holes, but they did. This mainly affects 2020 model, the 2019 and 2020 hatchback, and some 21s, mostly the 2020 and the 2019 on the hatchback. But let's keep this simple. When you have a Corolla, or you're buying one, or you bought one, you own one already, open the door, look at it. If you see 3 plugs, pull one out, life's good. On all 4 doors, and the repair is completed. That's it. You just need a drain hole, and they decided to plug it up. Very bad idea, don't know why they did that, but it's not something major. If you had water collection, Yes, there could be a potential for rust forming, but as long as you stop it and let it drain and life's good, you should not have issues further. The other common problem is with the ancient 1.8 liter engine in the non-hybrid model, so only the sedan. There's something called Valvematic, which is a valve lift technology from Toyota, and this was randomly available in some models in the previous generation, but in this generation it's on all 1.8 liter models, the non-hybrids. That design, it's good supposedly for emissions and all this good stuff, but ends up being not so good. It has a motor that changes the lift duration of the valves, and life is great, but that motor that controls all this is notorious to have an issue. Now there's an updated one, and the previous generation also had the same thing. We still have this issue. 2020 models will be affected by this, but this is not an issue you're going to have at 100, 200,000 miles. This is an issue that you're going to have soon when the car is relatively new. If it doesn't happen and you don't have this issue, life is good, you're not going to have it. There's an updated part. It is an expensive repair, but almost all the cases that happened had very low miles. You basically have low power, or the car flat won't start, and of course you have check engine lights. Now other issues are the radio. We talked about the radio being the latest generation and all this stuff. It can be clunky sometimes, and people have concerns over the Bluetooth dropping out, all kinds of things, and this has been a theme with Toyota for a while. There are software updates that Toyota issues regularly to fix some of these issues. You want to consult your dealer if you have issues with these radios. They're going to need constant updates to keep them up to date, to fix all the issues as they come. As phones get updated, Toyota also has to update their radios to keep up with the different software. This is something ongoing, and it's really with all models, not just the Corolla. And last but not least, the manual transmission, namely on the hatchback, could potentially be on the sedan as well, but mostly the hatchback. The clutch pedal makes a noise, and it is from the actual cylinder, the hydraulic cylinder. The only thing about it is a nightmare to replace, for lack of a better word. And this is actually going forward. They put it in such a difficult place to replace. You have to tear so much just to get to it. Could have done a better job there, but because of the design, the TNGA, it had to really go in a hard spot. If you hear that squeaking noise, if you're under warranty, get it fixed. If you're not under warranty, honestly, don't worry about it. Nothing is broken, can be annoying, but it's going to cost a lot in labor to fix it because so much has to come out to do this. It might not even be worth it just for a tiny little squeak. So let me share with you a few things that you might not know about the Corolla. So the first thing is, even though the wipers, you can pull them up and replace them just the way they sit, there's actually a service mode for them that brings the wipers up so you can service them easily. You can also use that if you're like in a snow situation, ice situation, you can leave them elevated so their resting place wouldn't freeze up. And to activate that is super simple. Turn the key on, or if the car is running, shut it off, pull up on the lever for the wiper within 45 seconds and hold it. And the wipers will go up like that. They stay like that. When you want to cancel them, just turn the car on and just hit the wiper once and they'll come back down. Another thing on these, if you notice on the steering wheel, there's a mode button and then there's all these buttons. This is actually part of the latest generation of Toyotas that started in 2018 Camry. It's actually an identical steering wheel almost. The mode button, if you actually press and hold it, it'll mute the radio. That is something they usually used to put a mark on it, but they don't in this generation, so I thought I'd let you know on that. So folks, that is your Corolla. I think the Corolla is a very good entry-level car. Young family, young adults, even empty nesters. This is a basic car that is designed to be reliable. Yeah, the sport models have a little bit more better looks, better wheels. The 2.0 is of course a star in the engines. If I was buying one today, I would go with a hybrid. And the hybrid is the biggest deal on the Corolla. See, there has not been a Corolla hybrid for the longest time because there was a risk that it would kill the Prius. But then Toyota decided, let's just do it. Why not? Let's just give it a shot, see what happens. And it is slowly killing the Prius because the Prius is a specialty car. Has that odd shape, so it would get this great gas mileage, and it has all these features and all these little attention to detail things that makes it like a spaceship. But the thing is, the Corolla gets like 1 or 2 less miles per gallon and is actually a nicer car overall, at least in my opinion. So the hybrid is the big deal on the Corolla, and the 2.0 liter, of course, with the manual transmission option. If you are looking for a manual transmission, this is a really good car, folks. You can read reviews all over the place. They're going to count how many cup holders we have and how doesn't handle as fast on the track like a Ferrari. But guess what? It is not, and it'll never be. And it is comfortable, it is refined, it is an improvement over the previous generation. The 1.8 liter, it is good, but I would go with the 2.0, because if you're going to buy the latest and the greatest, buy the latest and the greatest and keep going. Don't buy old technology that are actually carried over with some issues. As you've seen, the 1.8, it is a good engine, but it's a little tired and dated. Time for the 2.0, which, by the way, has been solid so far. There has been no issues with it. The hybrids have absolutely no issues. This uses a generation of hybrid that has been out since 2016. In the 2016 Prius, it has the same generation hybrid drive. The battery sits underneath the back seat. The 12-volt battery is actually under the hood, which is very nice, makes things simple for service. This is a very basic car. It'll get you from A to B very safely, and it has an added bonus. It has all the safety tech and all this technology built in with a very simple and nice package. I hope this video was helpful or informative. I hope if you are looking to buy one or you own one, this gives you a better insight on the Corolla. If you like this video, consider giving it a thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber, consider subscribing to the channel. Check out some of my other videos. And until the next video, folks, may the Lord bless you and keep you, and you have yourself a wonderful day.